All right, let's do it. We are diving deep today into TCPL Packaging Ltd's second quarter results for FY25.
Okay.
We've got their press release, financial statements, and earnings presentation, so we're really going to dig in and figure out what's driving their success
Sounds good.
and what we can learn about where they might be headed next.
Interesting.
So right off the bat, big news. TCPL just announced their highest ever quarterly revenue,
Yeah.
hitting over Rs 450 crore.
Yeah. Wow.
That's a huge milestone.
It is. It definitely is.
For the first time ever.
Yeah, especially in packaging.
So-
Like that's a competitive sector.
Super competitive.
So to cross that mark is a big deal.
And it's not just the revenue number itself, right? We're looking at their earnings presentation, and it shows a 14% year-over-year increase in consolidated revenue,
Okay.
an 18% jump in EBITDA,
Oh, wow.
and a 16% rise in cash profit.
Those are pretty impressive figures.
Yeah.
Like across the board.
Yeah,
The double-digit growth in revenue, like consistently, suggests to me that
right, because it's not just a one-off.
exactly their model, their business model, it's resilient.
Yeah, they're doing something right.
Yeah, and the growth in their EBITDA and cash profit,
Right.
it tells you they're managing those costs, right?
Right.
And actually translating that revenue into profit.
Absolutely. And, I know we throw around these terms, so just for anyone who's not familiar,
Yeah.
EBITDA stands for
Earnings?
earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization.
Yeah, the mouthful.
It's a mouthful, but basically
Yeah.
it's a way to understand
Before.
a company's profitability from just its core operation.
Exactly.
So it seems like Mr. Seka Kanoria, their managing director, he's pretty happy with all this too.
Oh, yeah.
In the presentation, he's calling this revenue milestone. He's saying a testament to our ongoing efforts and strategic focus on growth.
I like that, that
Yeah.
enthusiasm. It's
That's
encouraging. It gives you that sense of confidence, from the leadership.
Totally.
And that there's a vision
Absolutely.
to the future.
Speaking of the future, one thing that's really being highlighted in their earnings presentation is their new greenfield facility near Chennai.
Ah, yes.
There's a lot of buzz around this.
I can see why.
How do you think about that?
Well, this new facility, I think it's a strategic move by TCPL
Yeah.
to really strengthen their presence across India.
Right.
They use the term pan-India.
Right. Gotta love the business jargon.
Gotta love it, yeah.
But basically,
The basically wider reach, right?
wider reach.
Potentially even greater market share.
Exactly.
They're really positioning themselves.
Totally.
Okay.
Well, and the location.
Yes, the location.
Near Chennai, it seems pretty smart, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's a major hub
It is.
in a region that has
So much opportunity.
so much opportunity.
It's a rapidly growing market.
Totally.
So, not only does it help them, efficiently serve their existing customers in the South,
Right.
it opens doors, right, to
Yeah.
attract new clients.
Yeah.
It's like textbook strategic expansion.
Textbook strategic expansion.
I love it.
So let's get into some of the specifics from their statements.
All right.
I mean, one thing that really jumps out is the increase in their employee benefits expense.
Okay.
It's up about 16% year over year.
Interesting. So what does that tell us?
Well, that's what I was wondering. Are they expanding their workforce?
Okay, yeah.
Are they anticipating, higher demand?
Right.
Or are they investing more in training and development?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm curious. I'd love to see what their employee headcount figures were
Yeah.
from previous quarters to get a sense.
To get a clearer picture.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Another thing, their finance costs seem pretty stable.
Okay, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Especially, for a company that's investing in expansion.
Right.
It suggests that they're managing their debt responsibly
Right.
and maintaining that healthy
Financial foundation.
financial foundation. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It would be helpful, though, to compare their debt-to-equity ratio
Right.
with industry averages just to see where they stand.
Yeah, exactly.
How they stack up.
Now, there is a noticeable uptick in depreciation,
Okay.
around 5% year over year.
Okay.
But with all these investments, especially that Chennai facility,
Right.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's
it's
net.
natural, like you're going to see that.
Increased depreciation is a natural consequence
Yeah.
of investing in new infrastructure,
Yeah.
expanding capacity.
Exactly.
It's just, important to factor that into their overall,
They like picture.
their profitability analysis.
Okay, now let's look at their balance sheet.
Okay.
Their net debt is Rs 554.9 crore,
Okay.
which seems pretty low
Yeah.
compared to their net worth of Rs 569.6 crore.
That's good.
That's a healthy sign, right?
Very healthy.
Yeah.
A low debt-to-equity ratio like that
Right.
indicates financial strength,
Yeah.
gives them that flexibility
It's exactly.
to make future
Yeah,
investments.
without being burdened by debt. Without being overly burdened, yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? They snagged a couple of awards this quarter,
Oh, really?
including Print Week Packaging Converter of the Year.
Wow.
Pretty cool,
If
right?
those awards are not just, a pat on the back,
Right.
they really enhance brand reputation,
Yeah.
And that's a significant advantage when you're trying to attract new customers
For sure.
and even talent.
So it seems like, I don't know, they're firing on all cylinders.
So far, yeah, the numbers,
Yeah.
their strategic decisions,
Yeah.
it paints a positive picture.
It really does.
But we can't forget about, sustainability.
That's true.
It's becoming increasingly crucial, right?
Yeah.
Especially in the packaging industry.
Yeah. And it looks like they're making some interesting moves in that area, too.
Okay.
I'll explore that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Let's do it.
Let's dive into it.
I'm curious to see what they're doing.
Yeah, how are they incorporating those principles into their overall strategy? So where should we start with their sustainability efforts?
Well, their website highlights a bunch of initiatives.
Okay.
They're talking about renewable materials
Okay.
and reducing waste throughout their operations.
Those are key for any company that's serious about sustainability.
Right.
But what are the specifics, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What materials are they using? How are they actually measuring and reducing waste?
Okay, good point.
Yeah.
So they talk about incorporating recycled content into their packaging.
Yeah.
And they're also using lighter weight materials,
Oh, okay.
which I thought was interesting because it's not just about helping the environment.
Right.
It also makes sense from a business perspective, right?
Yeah.
Because it reduces their transportation costs.
It's a win-win.
It is a win-win.
It's good for the planet
Yeah,
and it's good for business.
exactly.
And it resonates with consumers too.
Yeah,
People are much more conscious these days
totally.
about their own environmental impact. So, yeah, for sure.
Companies that are taking those steps,
Yeah.
it's noticed,
Oh, absolutely.
It's noticed by consumers.
And you know what else caught my eye?
What's that?
They're putting a big emphasis on innovative packaging designs.
Okay.
Like things like using less ink,
Okay.
really optimizing for recyclability,
Yeah.
and even developing compostable packaging.
Now that's where things get interesting.
Yeah.
It's not just about using less material.
Right.
It's about designing packaging that can be easily recycled
Yeah.
or even biodegrade
Right. After it's used.
after use.
That's a game changer
It is. It's a game changer.
for the industry.
Yeah.
They're actually being recognized for their efforts, too.
Oh, yeah.
They've received a number of awards for their Sustano packaging designs.
Those awards,
Yeah.
they're not just accolades.
Right.
I mean, they're proof that TCPL is really walking the walk
Yeah.
when it comes to sustainability.
Yeah, they're not just talking about it.
Exactly. It's not just lip service.
Yeah.
They're actually doing it.
They're putting their money where their mouth is.
Exactly. And that helps build trust,
Yeah, absolutely.
with consumers, with investors.
It makes you wonder, though,
Yeah.
what are some of the challenges
Yes.
that they might face as they try to ramp up these initiatives?
Well, one hurdle, I think, is cost.
Okay.
Sustainable materials,
Yeah.
innovative designs,
Yeah.
often they come with a higher price tag.
Right.
TCPL is going to have to find ways to manage those costs
Right.
while remaining competitive.
Yeah, because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
they're a business.
They are. Yeah.
But I do think consumers are becoming more willing to pay a premium
I agree.
for sustainable products.
Yeah.
Especially if they understand why
Yes.
and they see the benefit.
Yeah, consumer education is key.
Total.
TCPL has got to effectively communicate the benefits of their sustainable solutions.
For sure.
Not just to the end consumer,
Right.
but also to their business clients, to the people who are buying their packaging.
Exactly.
What about sourcing these materials?
That's a good point.
Is there enough supply
It's a valid concern.
to meet this growing demand?
Yeah, the availability and cost of sustainable materials,
Right.
they can fluctuate,
Yeah.
especially as more and more companies adopt these practices.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
TCPL might have to, develop strong partnerships with suppliers.
Oh, yeah.
Explore alternative sourcing options.
Yeah.
Just to ensure that they have a reliable.
Yeah. Consistent supply chain.
Yeah, exactly. A consistent supply chain.
And we can't forget about regulations,
Right, absolutely not.
which vary from country to country.
All over the place.
Yeah.
And, that creates complexities for a company.
Especially one with global ambitions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
TCPL has got to be adaptable
Right.
and make sure that their solutions comply with those specific regulations
Yeah. In every market
in each market.
that they operate in. So it's not just about being sustainable. It's about being sustainably compliant.
That's it.
Okay. So they've got the awards.
Yeah.
They're making the investments.
Yeah.
But it sounds like there are still some hurdles
They're all...
as they try to integrate these practices into their larger strategy.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
Okay.
But, the fact that they're actively addressing these challenges and they're seeking out innovative solutions, that's encouraging.
It is encouraging.
It is.
Okay, so we've talked about their financial performance,
Yeah.
their strategic expansion,
Yes.
and now their commitment to sustainable packaging. It seems like they're hitting all the right notes.
Yeah.
What's your take on their overall trajectory?
I mean, they seem to be well positioned for continued growth, both in terms of market reach and their commitment to sustainability.
Right.
But the real test
Yeah.
is going to be in the execution, how they execute these plans.
Right.
How they navigate the inevitable challenges that come with expansion and innovation.
Right.
So,
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Speaking of challenges,
Yeah.
I'm curious about how they're going to balance their growth aspirations with their sustainability goals.
Okay.
Because it's one thing, to implement sustainable practices in their existing facilities.
Yeah.
But how do they scale that
Yeah.
across a much larger, more diverse operation?
That's the key question.
Right.
Maintaining consistency
Yeah.
across a growing and geographically diverse operation.
Yeah.
It's a challenge for any company.
Yeah.
Especially when you're talking about something as complex as sustainability.
Exactly.
Because what works in one place
Right.
might not be the best approach in another.
Right.
For example, Europe.
Yeah.
Much stricter regulations on packaging waste
Yeah.
and recycling
For sure.
than, say, in India.
Right.
So TCPL, they're going to need to make sure
Yeah.
that their solutions
Yeah.
not only meet those standards,
Yeah.
but also resonate with European consumers.
Right. Because they're very environmentally conscious.
Very environmentally conscious.
So navigating those differences is going to require a lot of research, a lot of planning.
It will.
What do you think is the best approach for them?
Collaboration.
Okay.
Partnering with local businesses.
Okay.
Suppliers,
Okay.
NGOs in each region, because those local partners, they can provide valuable insights. Local regulations, consumer preferences, best practices.
Yeah.
So it's not just about exporting their existing practices.
Okay.
It's about adapting,
Right.
evolving them
To fit the local
to
context.
fit that local context.
Okay, so thinking about this global expansion,
Yeah.
especially with this Chennai facility,
Yeah.
it makes me wonder about waste management. I imagine the infrastructure and the regulations might be pretty different
Yeah, good point.
from what they're used to.
Yeah, they've highlighted responsible waste management
Right.
as a core part of their commitment.
Right.
But how they implement that
Yeah.
will depend on the local situation
Right.
in Chennai.
Exactly.
What's the infrastructure like?
Yeah.
What are the regulations?
Right. Should they invest in their own
Yeah,
waste management infrastructure?
potentially.
Should they partner with existing facilities in Chennai?
I think that could be a strategic move,
Okay.
to demonstrate a commitment.
Yeah.
Not just to managing their own waste responsibly,
Right.
but also to contributing
Yeah.
to a more sustainable
Waste management system
waste management system in the region.
in the region, yeah.
Yeah.
And beyond just the operational aspects, right?
Yeah.
How do you see their messaging around sustainability evolving
Good question.
as they enter new markets?
They'll need to carefully consider how they communicate the value of their sustainable solutions to different audiences.
And different audiences, because
What resonates in India
right.
might not have the same impact
Yeah. Exactly.
in North America.
Right. So
So,
understanding cultural nuances.
yes, understanding the cultural nuances,
Different
the
priorities.
priorities of the consumers.
Yeah, and tailoring the marketing campaigns
Exactly.
to each of those.
Transparency is going to be key.
Okay.
They need to be upfront
Yeah.
about their practices,
Yeah. The good and the bad.
the successes and the
Yeah.
challenges,
Yeah.
and engage in open dialogue with consumers
Yeah.
and stakeholders
In each market.
in each market.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I think we've covered a lot of ground
I think so.
in this deep dive.
Okay.
We've talked about their financials,
Yes.
their expansion plans,
Mm-hmm.
and their commitment to this, complex world of sustainable packaging.
It
is complex.
It is.
It seems like they're making some significant strides.
Yeah, they are.
On all of these areas.
They are.
But as with any company that's growing,
yeah,
how do they adapt?
that's the question.
How do they innovate?
Yeah.
How do they stay true to their values as they evolve?
You hit the nail on the head.
All right, so are you ready for the final part?
Let's do it.
So we've talked about a lot with TCPL.
We have.
Their financials are looking good.
Yeah.
Expansion plans, their sustainability efforts.
It's a lot.
But one thing I keep coming back to is this idea of balancing growth with responsibility.
Okay, yeah.
As they grow, as they expand their footprint.
Especially globally.
Especially globally.
Yeah.
How do they make sure that these sustainability practices don't get lost?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Right.
It's one thing to, talk the talk,
right,
but walking the walk,
yeah,
maintaining that consistency across a growing and geographically diverse operation. That's a challenge.
Big challenge.
For any company.
Absolutely.
When you're talking about something as multifaceted as sustainability.
Yeah, I mean, what works in India might not be the best approach in Europe.
Exactly.
Where regulations and consumer expectations can be totally different.
Absolutely, you're right.
Right.
They're going to need to be adaptable, tailor their strategies to each specific market. Like you said, Europe, for example.
Yeah.
They've got much stricter regulations on packaging waste and recycling.
Right. So how do they approach that?
Well, I think collaboration is key.
Okay.
Partnering with local businesses, suppliers, NGOs in each region.
Okay.
Because they can provide those valuable insights.
Yeah, into what's actually happening on the ground.
Exactly. Into local regulations, consumer preferences, best practices.
So it's not just about taking what they're doing and applying it everywhere.
No. It's about adapting, evolving.
Right, based on where they are.
To fit that local context.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So thinking about, their global expansion, especially with this new Chennai facility, it makes me wonder about waste management,
Oh.
Like I imagine the infrastructure and the regulations there might be pretty different.
They've highlighted responsible waste management as a core part of their commitment.
Right.
But the practical implementation depends on that local context.
So what should they do?
Well, should they invest in local waste management infrastructure?
Okay.
Should they partner with existing facilities in Chennai?
Yeah, I mean, that would be a big undertaking, but it would show commitment.
It would. It would demonstrate a commitment to not only managing their own waste responsibly, but to contributing to a more sustainable system in the region.
Yeah, thinking long term.
Long term, exactly.
And what about their messaging around sustainability?
Okay.
How do they communicate that?
Yeah.
As they enter new markets?
That's a good question.
Like they got to explain what they're doing.
They do.
They do, people.
They have to carefully consider how they communicate that value proposition to different audiences.
Because what works in India might not work in North America.
Exactly. So it's about understanding those cultural nuances, consumer priorities, and tailoring the marketing accordingly.
And being transparent about it.
Transparency is key.
Okay.
They need to be upfront about their sustainability practices.
Yeah.
Both the successes and the challenges.
Yeah, the good and the bad.
Yeah, and engage in open dialogue.
Right. With consumers, with stakeholders.
Exactly.
All right, well, I think we've done it.
I think so.
We've unpacked TCPL.
We have.
Their financials, their expansion plans, their commitment to sustainable packaging.
It's been a journey.
It has.
It's been a deep dive.
It's been a deep dive. They're making strides.
Significant strides.
But how they adapt, how they innovate, how they stay true to their values.
That's what will determine their ultimate success.
Absolutely. And for you listening, I hope this deep dive has given you some things to think about and some insights into the future of sustainable packaging.
Keep exploring.
Keep exploring. Stay curious.
And thanks for joining us.
And as always, thanks for joining us on the deep dive.